Welcome to a brief tutorial on relief maps like this one. I'm going to be using Blender 4.0, but this isn't using any new features, so you could probably use anything from 2.8 up and be fine. After looking around on YouTube a little bit, this method has some pretty significant overlap with a tutorial by Jared Stanley, which I'll be linking below. The first step is to find a map to use. For this example, I'll be using a 1 to 100,000 scale topographic map produced by USGS in 1979. You can use whatever map you'd like, but the process is significantly harder if the map doesn't have latitude and longitude markings. I'm using USGS's top of view to find a map to use. I'm going to grab this one of Los Angeles. And I'm going to be downloading this as a TIFF. I'm going to be using now USGS's Earth Explorer to find the area. You can either add the coordinates manually to set the corner points, or you can just kind of place them on the map. It'll give you everything in that area. And then we should want to go over and select our data sets. We are going to be going over to digital elevation and SRTM and selecting the 1 arcsecond resolution. We're then going to run that search and find the tile that matches our map. You can select the metadata to check the coordinates of the square you're taking. I am looking for a map that goes from 118 to 119 degrees west and 34 to 34.5 degrees north, so this one is perfect. You want to download that as, again, a TIFF, and now we're going to move over into Photoshop. Now, these are scans of physical media, so there's sometimes slight imperfections. What I'm going to do first is go into perspective warp. I'm going to select all of the corners. I'm going to go in there and fix them all. I'm then going to straighten those out and confirm. I am then going to create a quick guide layout and line up those guides to the edges of the map. Then I am going to bring over that SRTM scan that we got earlier and line it up with those guides. Now, this is going to be about half of the height, or excuse me, actually exactly half of the height that we need it to be. So we're just going to multiply the height by 2 and then scale it up to the bottom of our map so it lines up correctly. We are then going to mask that. I'm now going to switch the color mode of the image to 16-bit color. You can do this kind of at any time as long as you're keeping the scan as a smart object in Photoshop, but it's good to do it at least at this point so that you can see what you're doing when you are editing the levels like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to crush that down and try to bring out some of the contrast that is stuck down at the bottom of that image. I'm going to get rid of the mask. This is a habit I picked up from the Texture Labs YouTube channel, big recommend over there. And now I am trying to bring out the maximum amount of contrast without really crushing the actual data there. I'm then going to mess around with the opacity, try to just, make sure that it lines up to what I can see on the topographic map below. I'm now going to save a copy of this image so that we can use that for our texture in Blender. Then I'm going to put a solid black behind the height map and export that also as a PNG so that I can use that to run the displacement in Blender. Now in Blender, we are going to delete the default cube, create a plane, and scale that to match our image. We are then going to create a material and then plug that image into that texture. And you want to make sure that that is set to a single image. Then I like to cut the plane up a little bit just so that there are some more square UVs. This is just done by look. Doesn't have to be exact. Then I'm going to add a subdivision modifier. And a displacement modifier. I'm then going to put in that other height map we made. Make sure that is also set to a single image, and then we see we have depth. I'm then going to add a little bit of lighting and set up the camera. And then I am going to render it out. Now this last step is optional, but I like to bring it back into Photoshop, add a little bit of contrast with the curves adjustment. Then I'm going to add a little bit of color with a gradient map. I'm then going to make some final tweaks in Camera Raw filter, add a little bit of grain, and then it is ready. And there we have it. That is our final render. Hopefully you guys like it. Leave a comment if you have any other questions.